Hi everyone, today we're going to do this black demo plate here from FARO with full design intent. So we're not really going to use any wizards, regions, things like that. We're going to do it just with standard modeling stuff so you can see some more of the power that DesignX has. So the first thing we're going to do is line this thing up on our coordinate system where we want to start modeling. So I'm going to start pulling out features. So it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, but we can always speed one up for you. So first things first, we're going to pull out a plane. I'm going to use the top face of this rather than the bottom because a lot of our features are going to be based like going down from the top and things like that as far as spacing and everything else. So I'm going to use our Smart Select tool, which is this little guy in the end here. And I don't need to hit anything for plane. I'm just going to click on it. It's going to go and look out and find the planar area. Grabs most of everything. It's not going to grab the inside because there's a little parting line in here that's machined in for the bolt circle. So if we want to add that, I can always hit Shift and add in that area also. But we'll hit OK on that. Grab our plane out. I'm going to line it up on the center bore here, so I'm going to pull out a cylinder axis, and we're just going to use this big bore that's inside of here. So I just check to make sure that looks good. Hit Find Cylinder Axis. Always hit my preview, make sure it puts it where I want it. Hit OK. And then to clock this thing rotationally, I'm actually going to use a sketch-based alignment, which is something you guys probably never done before. So we're going to hit the plane here, we're going to hit Mesh Sketch, and I'm just going to offset this down into the holes here. And we could pull out a plane from one of the other edges and things like that, like you guys normally do for alignment. But I'm actually going to use these two side-to-side holes here. So we're going to do a circle. And we just need position, so I'm just going to do a line between my two center points here. This is a really novel way to clock things really easily and get out vectors and things like that. I do sketch-based alignments all the time, so it's good something to know. Makes your life a lot easier. So, and then we're going to grab this vector plane, pull out a point. You'll notice if you select them ahead of time, it automatically selects line and face on them. So now we have everything we need to align this thing up. So we're going to go into interactive alignment here, hit next. I'm going to do, I could do 3, 2, 1 if we want. So I'm just going to look at my top face here and then see how we want to line stuff up. So if I do plane, gives me my top bottom face, so I'd want to flip that guy just because of the normal. Vector is always going to be your X direction. If I pick my thing here, if I want to flip the direction, have it look with the handle up, we can do that. And then position, we can grab our point out of the center. I'm just going to select it out of here. So top, front, preview over here, ISO, make sure everything looks okay. And then if I want, I could suppress these, or we could just delete. So now we're lined up on the center bore with our holes, everything else in our coordinate system. So let's start modeling this puppy out. So I'm going to grab my top plane here and do our first extrude. So we're just coming to sketch, mesh sketch. We're going to do the outer extents of this thing here. So grab our base plane. Just going to silhouette the whole thing in with our short little arrow. Make sure we got the outermost extents. I'm just going to grab it a little bit more just in case. Hit OK. Or we do the outline of our profile here. I'm going to do that. It's a rectangle with a circle. So we're just going to use the rectangle and a circle. If I turn off my mesh here, I can just grab my circle pieces, hit OK. All this stuff's hotkeyable to toggle this. So if you learn the hotkeys or program a mouse button, makes your life easier. So we're going to do this. We're going to pull these in where we want them. I'm going to actually do constraints and show you guys how to do this for real. So this is your actual dimension of the outside here, 132, 578. So it is what it is. I can hit OK on that. I'm going to drop this on the origin to constrain it. So, and if we want to check things afterwards to see if it's in, you know, millimeters or inches or whatever else, we can like always do that. So if we do this with full design intent, you can see things are a little over, maybe a little weird sizes on this. So if we want, come into File, Preferences. If you think your measurements are in inches, we'll hit inches. We'll see what stuff is. So see if it's drawn like fractionally or not, or if it's in millimeters. So it's just a good way to check of what you think is going on with the part. So if these were coming up with sort of even inch measurements, then I know no is probably modeled in inches and not millimeters. So, but if we're going to do design intent on this thing, you know, we can round all this stuff out. So this, okay, we're going to say is like 300. This we're going to say is like 130. And then we're going to constrain this back just like we would in any CAD really. So if we wanted to lock this to the origin, okay, half 130, you're going to go in here and make this 150. We're going to make this, what you call it? If I can click and type, all that stuff. Anyway, so now we just squared all this stuff up. So we're doing full design intent. We're reverse engineering this thing like we were going to do if we'd make a brand new part. So we're going to come in here to trim, and we don't need this and that, this and that. We just want the outline of all this stuff. I notice they turn blue, but they turn black once the relations are put in when you hit OK. So now we're going to grab this thing here, and we're just going to extrude this thing out. So to get this extrusion dimension here, we could create a plane on the bottom face, but what we can't actually do is come into extrude, okay, and we're going to come down. We want to go this way. Obviously, we can visually do it. You know, it wants to like snap where the edge of the mesh is, obviously, but if I come in and hit this, hit our top plane here, we can figure out our distance anywhere on the bottom of the part. So if I move this around, you'll see it's like 25 and some change everywhere. So someone probably made it 25. So if I click anywhere while I'm in this tool, it'll update it here, and I could just override. So now I have the bottom of our part. Next thing's next. Maybe let's cut this pocket in next, just for fun, because that's another one from the top plane here. Come back in the mesh sketch, hit our top plane. I'm going to turn my model off, run down in here just to get some of the edge data on the circle. You know, this thing doesn't have taper in it, I know that already, but you know, if it did, we could do multiple cross sections, or we could have it look for a draft angle and hit estimate. So, but now we just need to get this one. We're going to drop a circle on here like this. Okay, we need these edge lines. So what we're going to do to get those is convert them from the CAD. So we'll just take convert entities here. Grab them. Okay, get rid of the CAD now. We're going to dimension this circle. Okay, somebody probably made it 120, but and what I'm going to do is constrain this back to origin too. Again, we're making a CAD correct model. We don't want circles that aren't concentric and things like that. So we're going to pull that back. we are going to trim. Well, actually, we can't corner trim a full circle, so we're going to just get resize. I'll drag these in to the center here. Okay, trim. We can power off the outside. Do these inside edges. We will extend these out. Like so. And we need to create a solid to pull this off of, to cut the outside off. So we're just going to come down here. I just do something random because we can. One thing I do when I model is I like to put the disjointed ends on. If you come to Accuracy Analyzer here, we can turn these on, and you'll see that anytime I have an open end now, it's going to highlight it, but we'll hit OK on that. And we are going to extrude this. Again, we're going to come down. We're going to make it a cut. If I don't know how far to come down, again, I can hit that top plane and just mouse over my area. So, and see what it is like everywhere. So right now we can say that, like, hey, this is a 20 millimeter cut. So to correct it. So, or we could leave it some weird number. It doesn't really matter. But so now I put my solid back on. Now we have our step in. As I'm doing this, I usually do a couple features and then I'll hit Accuracy Analyzer here. So, and then we can see what our deviation is. So we're in millimeters, 0.1 millimeter. We can track this down to like 50 micron if we want, but some of it's going to be over that because we're doing CAD correction. So I just want to see that like what I'm doing is good for what's there. So you can see the bottom of the part is not flat, to be expected. We don't have a couple features done yet. This side step may be a little bit bigger or off, machined off on purpose probably. There's errors on this plate, so when you guys do quality, that they like show up as errors, okay, when you're scanning into that CAD model. But anyway, so there are things that are off intentionally, even though that wouldn't be a normal design intent. So next thing we want to do, we can poke some of this stuff in the center here because that's like really easy to set up. So let's come back to our model. Again, let's do, we could do this as a revolve if we want to. Normally a person would probably do this as 2 pockets because if you want to adjust it afterwards, most CAD modelers wouldn't do this as a revolve. People like to do it as a revolve, but most designers are not going to do that as a revolve. So we're just going to come down here to this bottom hole. Okay, and if we want to, we could do all of these at the same time. Everybody's going to do them as like separate sketches, though. No one's going to do all these features together at one shot. I know it takes more steps that way, but no designer is going to combine all these features because then you can't modify them easy afterwards. So we're going to make this 25 radius. Everything's radius is in here for now. We're going to lock that back to the coordinate system. We'll hit OK. We don't need to put our solid on. Model, extrude, come down through, cut. Okay, next we're going to do the second pocket. So we're going to come back to the top here. We're just going to come down in. Again, we could silhouette areas if we wanted to. It's really unnecessary here. So I'm just going to drop it somewhere in the middle. We're going to grab our circle. I always throw the dimension on first before I jack anything around, so we can see right away that this is like 50. Okay, we're going to put this back on our origin where it should be. Hit OK. Now this one, we don't know what the depth is, so when we come in the model, I'll hit extrude. I'm just going to hit the little measure here, grab my top plane, come down. If you don't have a plane, like ever, when you're doing this, you'll see sometimes I won't have a plane. I'll just, you can just create one on whatever area you want. So right away, you can see this is like a 15 millimeter pocket. So you just click right on it as we move around. 15, opposite direction. Cut. So if we want to check that quick, Accuracy Analyzer. Okay, it's good to show off as you're doing this stuff that you can just pop in, check what you did instantly, make sure everything is like okay. So let's do these circles again or come back. You're going to notice a lot of this is rinse, lather, repeat on this part. It's not a very complicated part. So You'll notice I just have a mouse button for hiding and showing stuff, so you'll see me hitting that all the time as I'm doing this. So let's grab all these holes out. We're going to do this bolt pattern. Okay, hit that up. I'm going to do a couple circles here just because I want to get some sizes, and I usually do more than one. So let's throw this on. Let's throw that on. So you can see that these are 10 millimeter. Okay, so we're going to do a 10 millimeter hole. And then if you want to, we can do like a dimension from like this one to there to see what the bolt pitch circle is. So we'll grab that one, we'll grab this one. So they're both 69.98. So we're going to say they're on a 70 millimeter radius. So I don't need any of this stuff right now. So we're just going to delete that off. I'm going to start on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is put my dimension on here. It's already there, obviously. We are going to make this 10. I am going to make this 70. And what we're going to do right now, this isn't constrained vertically. I can snap it there, but I don't have a center line or anything to lock it to. So what I normally do is just put in a little center line. Okay, and I could put it right to the circle. I don't really want it attached though. So what I'll do is get this, and we can hit coincident if we want to, and that'll lock it to the axis, the center axis. So now we have our thing. We're going to do a circular sketch pattern. I'm going to grab this entity here. We're going to say it's what? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 8. So we're going to say the base offset is nothing. I don't know why it never just starts at 0, 0, but it doesn't. So just get used to changing that, or it's going to look weird. Okay, you can just click the circles until they all line up. So 8, they all line up. There you go. Done. So hit OK on that. Put our solid back on if we want to. Back to model, extrude. We're going to do cut. Down through. You could always select through all or something like that. So, but now we got those done. Next is I'll probably do this slot that's like over here. So for that, again, we can come right down from the top. We'll hit mesh sketch. We're going to pull this down into the slot a little bit here. If we don't want to see all this other stuff in our sketch, we can always get rid of it, but you can window it in. We're just going to do that. Then I'm going to come into slot. We're going to grab this guy here, add the data that we want. Okay. You'll notice it gives us parallel. I'm going to make these perpendicular also, so it's they're straight up and down in our axis here, in our y-axis. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go center to center point on the circle here to get an actual size. So this should be 50, and then what we're going to do is space this off of our origin where it should be located in space. And then what we're going to do is also specify what our radius is. So what is not, I shouldn't need anything else, do I? Oh, I didn't specify the width of the, nope, that does specify the width of the slot. What moves? Oh, translation. We didn't do, so it's not black, doesn't need to be black, but let's specify where this hole is, and that will locate it in. So, so yeah, we're going to put this at 25. We're going to make this 12.5, because that's like what somebody made it. I don't know, 12.44. I mean, I don't know. You know, we can always see what it looks like if we make this. This is driving the width. So if we come to 12.5, and we look at it and see if it looks like oversized or not. It looks like it was just hogged out, so it may have been cut. When they cut it, they probably didn't do a cleanup pass on it. So this is just going to be 50. This is obviously going to be 120. Okay, rounding all these things out. Now we have our slot. Turn our solid back on. Extrude. Down. Cut. Hole. So now, we can do this panel. We can do this end here. This is from a different side, so we need to set something up for that. This, we need to offset a plane for. This is like a revolve, but it's on the center axis. So we need a revolve cone. That's just how it works. So to get the location of this thing, what I would normally do is grab something down the center. I can assume, though, if I want to, that this is on the center line. It looks like it is. So if we really want, we can just come into like the top front plane here. The one thing I do want to do is get a position for the center of this cone. So what I'm going to do is we're going to pull out a vector. Okay. I'm going to grab the inside of my cone. We'll hit OK. We can either do it this way and project a point out. What's really easy to do also is if we don't want to do this, let's not do the vector. We can always pull out reference geometry. Again, one of the easiest things you could possibly do is just come in. And actually, we can come into any one of these sketches here. So if I come in here to, what's my last one? We'll come into the slot one. Why not? If I just want to know where this is, okay, I can come in here, drop a circle on, just do a measurement of where that's located. So it's at 102 millimeters offset from the center. Okay. Now we don't want to keep any of this in our sketch, so we're going to delete it out. We just need to know where it was. So it's easier than extracting geometry. So what that means, I need to get this plane. Okay, we're going to come in, hit plane. We're going to offset it. Okay, we're going to do just one. Did I say 102? I don't remember. I think I said 102. Yeah, so we could pull out that reference geometry like we did before, but we're just going to offset it that way. We don't actually even need to do that because honestly, we could have just used our right plane. So let's kill that one. We don't need this. Delete. This is what happens when you're not thinking straight. So we're going to turn on our right plane. We don't need that one. Okay, we're going to grab our right plane. We're going to sketch, mesh sketch, and grab this cone data here. So we'll just hit OK right in the middle. Again, we want, if this thing wasn't in the middle, if it was offset, we'd need to offset one of these planes to get down the center line of this cone, or else all of our data is going to be wrong. If you don't want to look at it on end like this, like your right view, just hit the little rotate here, and you can look at it straight up and down. So to do this, we just need one side. We do need a center line though, so we are going to need a center line. I'm going to make a vertical line like this. We do need that dimension because we need to set this center line at that dimension. So we're going to make this 102 where it was. If I pull this upwards for some reason, I'll be able to see there's a center line. We need a line in here, and we're going to set the angle of our cone. So now if I come into constraints, not constraints, sorry, dimension, we're going to set our half angle of our cone. So no one made it 15.12. They made it probably 15. Okay, we just need to get this up and out of our part and down in our part. Okay, and then for SolidWorks, it's not going to want this as a center line, so we're going to make it a solid line. Okay, and then what we're just going to do is grab some lines like this here, just over the part. We're going to hit trim. We're going to get a corner. We can, if you swipe the lines you want, it'll trim off the outside edges. Okay. There's nothing really positionally to do on here. It's just that you're not going to have it all black. I mean, we could specify start and end points on the line, but there's no point for the height. But anyway, so we'll just hit outside on that. We can put this back on here. We're going to do a revolve. We can pick the center line axis here. We're going to do a cut. Hit OK. So we got that in. The next one is the slot here, or we can do the end holes. Let's do this little tapered thing first. Okay, here's one of the things we're going to do with that offset like we did before. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to hit plane, we're going to do offset. I'm going to hit measure. I'm going to grab my plane here. Make sure I grab the plane, not click on the mesh. Offset this. We're going to hit measure. Make sure I grab the plane. Okay, come right over here. It's right at 9504. So we're just going to come in and say this is 95. And make sure the arrow is going the right way. If we want to check the other one, we could do that too. So I had the lock on, so this stayed on. But if I come in and hit like here, and I come out to like that one, okay, this is essentially 135. So we could always offset out to that one too if we want. But I just did the inside one. So now we're going to grab this plane, sketch. We turn off the right one just for fun. Mesh sketch. We're going to come back in. I'm just going to put it somewhere in the middle just because it looks nice there. We don't want to be on the edges and the fillets that are in there. So we're going to hit OK with that. This we're going to assume is centered on the center axis. So I'm going to come in and click this line. We're going to click this line. I am going to automatically just make a center line here. It doesn't really matter. I just like putting one in, honestly. And then we're going to set some angles on these. So this is 30. I'm actually going to leave it there so I can see better. Okay, we need to put both in. We could mirror this. Okay, this is 30.5. This is 30.5. So someone set it at like 31 degree, like what, 61 degrees. I mean, it's kind of interesting, but that's what it is. We could always modify it if we want to, but I'm just going to put them both at 30.5 because that's where they are. We could always zoom in and check. So if we thought the angle was slightly off on the snap, okay, we could always come into Accuracy Analyzer here in the sketch and mouse over this and see how close it is. And then we can always adjust this to 30. And you'll see it's worse if we come to 31. Okay, back out the other side. So no one probably did anything weird. Okay, this is manufacturing tolerances, so we're just going to do it 30.5. I'm sure it wasn't designed as 30.5, as like 61 degrees, but that's what it is cut at. We could always change it, of course, and just make it 30 and 30, but that's probably walk as far as the manufacturing is concerned. So, but we're going to leave that go. Again, we just need to pull these out, the ends. Nothing fancy here. They just need to come outside the part. So we're going to just drop this in here. I don't care if these lines are... When I do stuff like this, I generally... Let's turn that off. I generally don't even make these constrained or parallel or something like that. I always make them like weird just so I know that like they're not actually something important. So we're going to come out the trim here. We're going to do a corner. Okay, make sure you swipe like inside. But here's your slot. If we wanted to, we can do start and end points on these for the actual width. Again, we don't have to. If we were going to do that, what I would do is convert these CAD edges. So, and we totally can do that. So we're on that side. So I would usually convert the back edge. But if I convert this one, and then we convert this one. And I just go back normal, turn my CAD and my mesh off, okay? Then we can specify the lengths of the lines. So if we come back into corner trim here, we do this, and do this, okay? We don't need these outside lines now. And if we wanted to constrain where the position of these are, okay, I can come off my center line here and do, you know, a dimension here on like the bottom of each one, or we can try, say, the top edge of each one, see what makes more sense. So this is looking like 40. This is kind of a weird number, so maybe we're going to get rid of this one. And again, I'm showing you how to be pedantic about this, so you kind of learn a little bit about the process. So, and then we can set this at like 40, set this at 40, okay? If we want to see how they look again, you can see our line is shifting a little bit below. It's even spacing though, so this is where the pink is really just like, you know, manufacturing tolerance, so on the lines. And if we want, we could maybe set the inside at 25 to 25, make it a 50mm bottom. You know, it depends on like what you think. You know, the engineers make these decisions all the time for going back through something. And there's no, you know, if we had something that was important for this part, we'd know which direction mattered, which side mattered, which size mattered, if there was something interfacing with it. But again, from here, we're just going to come in to our thing. We're going to hit extrude. We're going to do a cut. I'm going to make it negative, and we're going to measure from our plane. Okay, we can come over. We already know it's like 40 because we looked at it before, so we're just going to make it 40. Hit OK. Now the cut's on our part, so we can do that. There's a couple different ways to do these end holes if we want to. I usually just project one to the other. So let's come into this CAD face here, or we can do it like, we can't do it on our center line plane, obviously, because we can only extrude from the plane that we're on. So we're just going to grab this face. I'm going to do mesh sketch. We're going to push this in, okay, into our part here just to get enough edge data. So we'll just stick it somewhere in the middle of that hole, wherever we have good scan data, which is probably closer towards the outside edge. Now I want to see how close it is to the other end of this part. So what I'll actually do is hit plus here, put a section on, run this down to the other side, okay? Go back about the same spot out from the edge of our part. What it's going to do now is get both of these cross sections, and it's going to project them back to the center. So if they are off from each other, we'll get like two different lines, and you'll see that in a second here. So we'll hit OK. If they weren't really lined up at all, we would have two completely different circles. We have two next to each other. So now we can really just come in and just pick which one we want, honestly, that we're going to space everything off of. So again, we know they're on the center axis here, so it doesn't really matter. But if they were not and they were spaced up off, we'd want to know what the spacing is from side to side. So that's why I do stuff like that. So this thing, we're going to put a dimension on. I'm going to make a center line off the origin. And then what I'll do is we will get this and this, go into constraints here, hit coincident. And then we need to do another dimension from here to the center of the circle for the depth. So again, I don't know if it's directly in the center of the part. It doesn't look like it is, but most likely it's at like 13mm. So if we make this 13, and again, we can always see how they shift. So maybe it is 13.5, maybe it's 14. This is data from both sides again, so remember that. Make sure I hit normal too. So it's definitely not 13.5. So again, engineering intent will tell you that's just manufacturing tolerance of how they're shifted on the plate. So We're going to do this one. Now we only have to do this one time because we're going to do the other side kind of the same way. So we're just going to come in the model. I'm going to do an extrude. We're going to come in here, hit cut, hit OK. To get the one in the opposite side, okay, we're just going to come in here. We don't even need to do a mesh sketch. We can just hit sketch if we want to. Come into that plane. We're going to hit convert entity. I'm going to grab one of my edges here from that cylinder. I'm just going to project it out. I'm going to exit. Okay, we're going to come back to model, hit extrude, pull this through, hit cut. There's all kinds of fun stuff we could do. We could make two entities, we could mirror something, we could boolean stuff out. It's just easy to do it this way. So now we have our top circle pocket here. Again, we're going to do this from our centered on our origin again, but it's on our it's an offset plane. So we're going to grab our front plane here. And again, the reason I'm offsetting this and just not making a plane here is this plane is probably not going to be perfectly parallel to this one. Okay, so if I'm coming in and like I fixture it in the machine like this and I want to cut it, like this needs to be parallel to this, or it's going to be at some weird angle. Okay, and I'm going to have like some step lines or something in the bottom of my pocket with my mill, or I need a 5-axis mill or like something else. Okay, just so we're going to get this, we're going to hit plane, we're going to offset my front plane. Okay, I can hit measure again, and we're going to click on front plane. She wouldn't let me highlight it because I'm recording probably. So 95. So just click that. 95. Help if I'd made it 95 instead of 85. So again, can verify that. So from here, this is literally a circle. It's offset, it's aligned with the center, then it's offset from it. So we're just going to sketch. Again, we could do a revolve or something else like that. Honestly, it's just a pocket, so someone probably just did it as a regular sketch. So we can just come up into the hole here, out of the fillet, hit OK. We are going to hit circle. I mean, we could make this complicated, but there's no reason to. So we can make this our 80 millimeters radius because that's what it is. Again, I drop a center line just so I have something to line this up to the center with. And then straight, hit coincident. That'll shift the circle over. And then we need to do where it is down from the top. Again, no one probably made this a weird number. 60. All locked in. Hit exit here. And then we're just going to extrude outwards. So extrude, pull it out, hit cut. Okay. So there are some other little holes left in here, so we can do those quick. I might actually do all these in one shot. We're just going to do them as through holes because they are actually all through holes, just different sizes. Now we can rinse, lather, repeat, and pattern these up. These is actually mirrored back and forth, so it looks like we only have to do one side. They may be different based on how this part is. I know it's a little bit, it's meant to say stuff is off. So if I grab my top plane here, we're just going to do them all as one single setup. So I'm just going to come in. Again, we want to get down below any fillet edge here. What we could also do if we wanted to is just like silhouette the part in. Okay. You add a little bit to it. Or if we want to, we can add data from like all the sides again, just silhouette through the whole part. So it'll project everything out back to our sketch plane. Sometimes if you do the whole part, there may be noise on the other side that gets projected back through, but it doesn't really matter for this because we know what's going on. But let's drop some of these on. I always just put on all the circles first. We can check if they are the same side to side, or we can just assume that they are. So the circle tool you click. If I click again, it's going to add data. So click, double click, click the next one, double click. So should have told you that in the beginning. But anyway, so right now we have all this stuff done. If we want to, we can, throw some dimensions on some of these for sizing. This is definitely gonna be a different size than this one. These are bigger. Okay. I don't know if that one's different. That was all like the same size, it looks like. And then we can look at spacings. So so these should all be like 3mm holes, or 3mm radiuses, 6mm holes. Okay. I know they're slightly undersized because you like to drop your little 6mm ball on top of there and it doesn't actually go down in. So yeah, so they're a little undersized, but we can decide what we want to do here. So, and then we can leave them as is at 289. So they probably are all 289 or 2895. So is what I would say. But and then for spacing for these things, again, we're just going to come off our center axis here, and that's 45. What's this one say? 45. Okay, so this is just how we check. 49, 49.8. Okay, so 45, 50. You just drop stuff on, get an idea of where things are going, and then go from there. So I'll grab this one. That one's also like 100. So 135. So honestly, we're not going to use anything on this side. Okay, we can just start going along here. So you'd say this is like 135. We're going to say this is 45. This is 100. Okay. We're going to say these are 2.9, essentially. Or whatever size drill they had that was under 6mm. Anyway, so your ball wouldn't go through. Same thing for this. Okay. We're going to say like this is 2.6. This has a I know a boss in it that's pressed in there for your little ball or your cone. I don't know, is that one threaded? I can't remember. But anyway, the center location is the important part. Hole sizing, I mean, you could always bore gauge holes that are tiny. I mean, that's just how it works since you can't probe them since they're too small. But so we're not really going for size here. We're going for position. So, and again, we're going to do the same thing here. And do this. Okay, so 85, 15, okay. These are mirrored. I mean, honestly, I can mirror that way and then mirror this way. It's just as easy to draw, like to add some more dimensions and then do it all. It's not like we have to think. So it's easier just to click some dimensions here. We're going to put that back there with that one. Try to lay them out so they're not like super confusing. Oh, jeez, I just did that one. Like, seriously, pay attention. No, we just did that one. We want to do this one. It's going to be one of those days. And then we're going to need to put our hole sizes on here. So, again, 2.9, 2.9. Okay. No, we don't have to constrain everything. I'm just showing you like how the CAD guy would see how to do it. It's useful to show stuff like this to people that are designers for a living because they this is how they have to draw every day. So we're just going to get this. If we want now, I just need a center line. So I could use a plane, but we're just going to mirror this. So let me grab my symmetry line, entities. Okay, we're gonna do that, that. Hit OK. Get out, put our solid on, extrude, cut, through, holes. Okay, so now we got everything, I think everything. Again, if we hit the accuracy analyzer, anything that shows up like red or really messed up. Now there's some fillets in here that we didn't put in yet, so there's like that stuff that's there. I don't see any other features that we mixed. Nothing is glaringly shifted. There is some red stuff on here because again, these are chamfered probably a little on the top, and that's like not in there. So, or there's some mushrooming going on here on the actual part. Oh yeah, there's some little pressings that are in there. So again, I didn't draw them in, so that's why there's little red marks. But this one, I don't know, I guess because there's a little bit of a chamfer here as it was drilled. But anyway, so we're looking pretty good. So now we have everything pretty good. Let's do the little bar here. So to do that, we need to get to starting the endpoints first. So let's come in here and again, mesh sketch. And we're gonna offset this guy out a little bit on the bars here to get the positions. And it's upside down, but it doesn't really matter. We can flip it over if we want. Let's figure out where this is going. So let's pull these circles in and check the size and figure out where they're located. So it's looking like 3, 2, and off the top. That one's like 10. So we got one like, what, 130. This one is 10. Could do 10 on this one. They're looking both 3.2, so whatever that nominal bar size is here. So we're just going to change these. And this is looking like 125. This one's most definitely 130. All right, so we got some positions for that. Now I only need one of these profiles, so I'm going to just make that one construction and just leave it there. So, and then we'll start from this side when we do the path. So now that we have that, we need to get what this looks like from the side. So it looks like it comes out and then like kinks up, and then it's like the same on that side. And we're going to want to figure out what angle this is, and we already know where it starts at, so we just come out right from the center point of that circle and put the bend in. And then what we'll do is we'll come from the top down and get this this profile that's on here. And then we need to do a sketch from the top here to get the overall profile of this. So, and I'm showing a little surface method to do this, and that actually works out really nice. So we're going to try that. So we come into the right plane here, and we need to get some of both sides. I know these are bent up at different angles because this bar always gets bent on this part. So we're going to use our CAD correction on that. So I'm going to come to mesh sketch. We're going to come out like this side here, and I want to get that bar profile. This is where the silhouette tool that you guys should always be like showing off comes in real handy. So I'm just going to pull this up here. We're just going to actually scale this whole window down to make it manageable here. And I just want the bar profile from the side, so we're going to come out to like here. I don't want to get the edge of the block, so we'll do that. And we're going to silhouette this in, and we want to make sure we grab the whole edge of the bar here. So now we got that whole end projected back for that profile. And I want to do the same on the other side. So what we're going to do is just hit plus again on the cross section here. We're going to move it over. And again, I'm just going to put it like in the middle of the bar. And then we're going to silhouette from the fat arrow here from the top. Get the whole end projected out. And this is all going to go back to my middle sketch plane, because that's where we started on the right plane there. So you'll see they're in two different spots, which I expected. So you look at it's kind of a bit of a mess. One is, the right side is higher, left side is lower. And then we need to figure out like where they come out for the bend angle. So, and this is of course our start circle here. So we need to figure out where this curve is. So, and then what angle these are at. So let's come in and grab some lines here. And that one's just going too long. So we're just going to turn off like fit polyline. And I'm just going to grab a couple of these. So that's the front side. This one is the back side. And then, we need to get a center line, which is fine. We'll get the center line. But we just need to figure out the bend angle height first. So, but the first thing I want to figure out is what this angle is at. So let's look at this, and we'll come back here. We'll look at that dimension. It's like 9.9. And then we'll do the same thing for the other side. It's like 10. Or what you call this one's like even less. So it's looking like 8, so, or almost 9, and that's a little bit less. So I'm going to go and say that somebody probably decided they wanted to make this thing like 10 degrees. So we're just going to roll with that. So I don't really need these at this point. Okay, I'm just going to, actually I could have used any of them. Doesn't really matter. We're just going to throw a line in here. And I'm just going to set it at like 10 degrees for right now. And now you'll see we don't know where we're sticking this yet. So what I'm going to do is figure out how high that bend angle is. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. And we're going to convert our center point here from our circle. And then I can come in and we're going to turn off 13 here. And I don't want to see the gray. Doesn't really matter. But now let's come in and put a center line here. Actually, we can just draw right off of that one. That's the intersection with our face of our part. So let's just come in and draw a regular line off of this and figure out like how high we think this should be. So, just kind of looking at it. And let's throw a dim on here just for fun. So that's exactly 20. And it's looking like that's a little far past the bend. It looks like the bend starts a little earlier on this side, a little later on that side. So, and if we go and like flip the view here, you can see this bend looks a little later. I'm thinking maybe 20 is a little bit nicer. So I doubt someone made it like 18 or something like that. So I think we're going to use the 20. And then we're just going to get this line, and that's going to be our start point. So we're just going to attach that here. Okay. So now we have our angle, and again, we need it long enough to come off the end of the part because of what we're going to do. So we're just going to drag that out past the end of our part here. So, and this will give us our side profile. We could extend this out a little bit if we want to also into the part. We want to make sure that we end inside the part. So I'm going to grab a tiny little line here and just pull it in. So we could end at the surface and then extend the surface if we had to. but it should end right at it because we're using that point. But I always just get in the habit of extending something into something if I want it to be in something. So let's do that. And then we can exit the sketch here. And now we need to do another one like from the top view. We're going to actually use the same depth, and we're just going to do the top outline like through the center of the tube. So and we're not actually going to use it at that angle. We're going to use straight down. Okay. I think, well, we might be able to do it straight down, but we're going to actually do it on like this plane, so of this surface, because we want the profile at the top. So let's go in and grab this surface that's up there. So we'll got to make that first. So let's come in and we're going to do our model. We're going to do extrude. Grab our sketch here. I'm just going to do mid-plane. Come out past the ends of the ends of the part here. Okay. Hit OK with that. And I'm actually just going to make the plane. We don't really need to. We can just draw right on that, but I'm going to make the plane anyway. And we're just going to hit OK on that. And now I can come in and we'll hide this guy here and draw the rest of our surface. So come to this plane here. We're going to come in again to sketch, and we're going to mesh sketch on that guy. And I'm going to window this down just to the area we're interested in here. And I'm going to go and just like silhouette through the whole pipe that's there. Get everything. And we're going to use some of the reference from the faces there because we're going to extend past down, but we're going to start with those same lines in the other sketch. So we'll hit OK on that. And we're going to come in and turn on our center line sketch here, just because I want to be able to see where that endpoint is. And we'll need the points from our other sketch here. So we need our circle points. Center points is what we really need. So I'm going to convert them out for our circle center points. And then we're going to go and do this profile. So I can turn that one back off. And let's come in and get this guy here. So these, again, let's just check these lines here. So we'll come in and see what angle these guys are at here. So this one, and let's check, whatever, we'll check the inside of this one here. So this is looking like it's what angle wise? So these are looking like what, 20s? Yeah, so like 20. So we can leave them there. We're going to make this 20. Make this 20. And we can get rid of that one so we don't need it. And then again, we need to find the center line. The easiest way to do that is we're just going to use the line that's here. So I'm going to come in and grab our center point and just do a vertical line off of that one. We're going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to put that there, and then we'll right click it and make it vertical. And this is going to be our intersection point. Now the height that these go out, okay, we can look at our other sketch here. We need to find like the break point of where this turn is what we're looking at. So we're just going to come into like our dimension tool here, and actually I'm just going to roll this back down a little bit to about where it looks like on this side, and about where it looks like on this side here for where that radius turn is. And let me throw a couple dimensions on here and see what these are. Because someone probably didn't do anything too fancy. And this was the side we were using before for starting everything. So it looks a little bit better on this side. So let's go and make these both 25. Is what they're really looking like. So even this side looks a little bit out of shape, but we'll throw that in there. And then we have a place endpoint for this line. So again, this side's a little off. When I do this side, it looks much better because we'd expect that because this bend angle's in the wrong spot. And then let's come in and throw a line down the top here. And then pull a distance off the center and see like what this guy looks like it would be. So it's like 166. Let's see what 165 looks like. Kind of looks pretty good even wise. So maybe this is a little bit off. This is definitely off. So we're just kind of correcting as we go along here. But that looks like a good pretty center line. Of course, this probably isn't perfectly parallel to, you know, our world coordinate system like it should be. It's a little bit out of shape. So we'll come in here. We're going to trim these guys together. And then we'll hit fillet and find what our fillet should be on these guys. So I'm going to drop this kind of in there. And then this one is a little closer. So we'll drop this guy in there and see what this should be. So you can see what 16 looks like. I mean, that looks pretty good for our start and end points here. We can see what 15 looks like. It's a little bit tighter. '17 is definitely too loose. So I think 16 is looking pretty good. So let's use that. The other thing is on the other sketch, we did extend the other sketch lines in a little bit, so down from the end. So we're just going to do the same thing on this one that we did on the other surface. So we turn that guy on. He's coming down in a little bit. So we're just going to extend it down like the same amount. So if I go and turn on my other sketch that we had on, that is our line. I'm going to move this out of the way so I can see. Come out the end here. I'm just going to do a construction line here on the extension. So that one's a little further up in. This is probably the point we want. Not that it really matters if they end at the same spot or not. I'm just being pedantic at this point. But we'll trim these in. Or we can just add some lines. Let's add some lines and then trim those. Just because we'll keep these anchored. So these are really just extended back in. So, and then we'll come in and corner trim like this and that and this and that. Clicked on the wrong line over here. So all right. So now we have that extended out also. And we can kill that sketch. And this is looking pretty good. So we'll hit OK on that. And then what we want to do is we're going to come in and extrude this surface also. And I'm just going to do like mid-plane, but not nearly that high. We don't need to go that high. We just need to go, you know, enough to be where the tube is and be able to see. So we'll do that. I'm going to turn my surface bodies back on here Okay, so now I have these two surface bodies, and this is how we're going to get that 3D line out as the intersection between these two. So I'm going to come in and come back into 3D sketch here. So this is a new one for you guys, but we're going to hit like just 3D sketch. And I'm going to do intersection, and we're going to intersect that one with this one. It doesn't really matter which way we go, but we're going to do that. So now we just created a spline on those two surface bodies that has all of our angles in it. And I didn't really do the fillets on these surfaces, which is what we should do. So let's actually break this. Right now we're going to forget about that. We're going to come back into sketch 14 here, okay? And we're going to try to figure out what this like radius would be in here between these two. So I'm going to look normal to this, and we're going to turn all this stuff off, and let's see what these fillets are here and here. So that one is kind of just a weird bend. This one I can put an arc on to see like what it is. And actually we want to do the one from just the right side, which was the higher one. So it's the one that I actually wasn't looking at. So this higher one is the one that we want to do here. So let's figure out what this angle is. So let's come in and grab like here and here and there and like see what this bend radius is, or we can just eyeball something in. That's the other option. So if I move this so we can see, we can come in and put a dimension on this and like see what it is. That one says it's like 65 or 67. So, but if I come in here on the fillet and just add this guy and pull this out to what I think looks nice for a bend, you can do that. And like maybe let's say what 35 looks like. I mean, that looks pretty good, right? It looks a little maybe softer than that. I don't know, it looks kind of harsh, like if they just tweaked it up, but let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's try 50, see what that looks like. I mean, that looks pretty good. It's pretty nice. So let's do that. And let's kill plane 3. We don't need that on. And we'll see what that looks like across our part here. That looks pretty nice. So it's hard to tell because the sides are kind of wonky. And then let's come into sketch 15 here. And we'll go normal to that. And we'll see what this radius looks like. Let's kill that surface again. And hit our fillet tool here. And let's start on this side since this is the better side. Let's come in and add something like that. I mean, we can see what 50 looks like. Maybe they did the same deal. That looks a little soft. 40 might be better. It's looking like 40 is a little bit better. Let's see what 35 looks like. That might even be a little bit better. So I think that follows a little closer. I mean, 25, maybe not, but let's split it. We'll do 30. So same deal on the other side. We're just going to pull that a little bit. Make that 30. And now we'll have our radiuses when we make that spline. So let's do that. Turn this back on. And go back to 3D Sketch here. Do that. So now we have our nice soft bends in there with real angles. So now we need our sketch that has the path on it, or the profile on it. So we're going to do that, turn this guy on. Okay, this is the profile we want to use. And I should be able to start it from there. I might have to move it back. We'll see. So let's turn this back on. We will hit exit on 3D Sketch. We're going to come into Model. I'm going to do a solid sweep because I just want to make a solid bar. We're going to hit Merge. The profile we're going to say is that circle, and the path is going to be this guy here. So this is an all-one curve. So I don't know if I just grab the 3D. Yeah, I grabbed the whole 3D sketch. Okay, I'm just going to click on the pieces. But anyway, so that's all there. Follow path, alignment. My path extends out, which is why I extended it out, because you'll see it extends back into the back of the part now. So we're just going to hit merge. And then here is our happy little bar. So, and then we can see, we know it's bent up. So, but this is a really nice, like, CAD correct version of that. So if we were going to reproduce this, and reproduce this bar and everything else, we'd be able to pull this out. We have nice real bend angles and things like that to send out. So anyway, if we want to do one more thing here, we'll just hit go. Again, really close everywhere on our part. Engineered within tolerances. We made intelligent engineering decisions to reverse engineer it, and we fixed the bend in the bar as we did it. So that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Cheers.